Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Ravemen PR2000 bike LED headlight. Ravemen's PR series of bike headlights combine multi-LED designs with low and high beams for different types of riding. In this review, we're going to be looking at one of the newest variations in the product line, the PR2000. You can see you have a nice glossy representation of it right on the front, the orange and black color scheme that Ravemen is known for, and then all the specs printed onto it. Go ahead and open this up. We'll go over the specs. So retail price on this is $129.95. As the name implies, you get 2,000 lumens of output, which is pretty impressive, so nice and bright. You get a dual beam design, so you actually have two LEDs with different style lenses, so you get a low and high beam. You have a nice LED screen, so you can actually see the remaining battery time for each mode you're on. And then you also have the wireless remote, so you can control this remotely and then mount this on your handlebar. You also have USB Type-C charging, which is really nice, so easy to charge. As far as what comes with it, you can see we have the headlight, nice and compact with a metal body, the wireless remote, the USB Type-C charging cable, a bolt-on handlebar mount, so you can see it's actually hinged as well, with different little rubber spacers on the inside. We have the O-rings for the remote, and there are two different sizes there. You can see a little Allen key and then another spacer that you can use in place of that thicker one. And then finally you have the manual and then the warranty card. Now let's take a look at the weight of the headlight. So the headlight by itself comes in at a pretty heavy 213 grams because it doesn't have the metal body. You have the handlebar mount with the bolt attached to it, 26 grams. And then we have the little remote, which I'll take out of the bag. So pretty lightweight construction. I'll put one of the larger O-rings on there. Comes in at only 14. Visually, the PR2000 looks nearly identical to the other Ravemen PR lights with this rectangular design and aluminum body. It's pretty compact. It's only 4 inches long and then 2 inches wide. And you have two LEDs side by side, which is what makes it a little bit wider. The main body is this aluminum, and you can see it's a nice silver finish. And then you have the black surround on the front and the rear. The rear part is plastic, and then the mounting surface is also plastic. There's almost no branding on here. You can see nothing on the sides. You only have the Ravemen on the bottom of the screen. Then PR2000 printed on the other side, which you don't really see when it's on the bike. You do have exposed hardware, which is a little bit unusual. So you can see 3 bolts here, holding the front end together. And then the rear, again, you have 3 bolts. Despite the exposed hardware, it actually has an IPX8 rating, so you can actually junk this underwater and still have it function, which is pretty cool. As far as the mounting design, you can see it's a simple tab design. So you have these little raised edges, and that matches up with the mount. So you can see if you orient it correctly, you can actually just slide this on, and then it clicks into place. So pretty nice design. Would have been nice to see a Garmin mount, which is a lot more generic. But with this one, you can use their mount, and they also have a GoPro adapter that's only $3 that you can purchase separately. You can see once it's on, it's pretty secure, and this handlebar mount is actually really nice because it's hinged. You see the hinge on the front and then bolt it down so you can leave this on your bike and then simply pop it off. As far as the lens, you can see 2 LEDs and they have different lens designs. The one on the left is for the high beam, so a nice traditional spot beam, which creates a cone beam. And then on the right side, you can see all the diffusers on there. So you can see the upper portion has diffusers that push the light downward. And then you can also see vertical diffusers in here that spread the light out. So that's for the low beam mode. So you can see in low beam, you don't really have a sharp beam cutoff like you have with asymmetric lights. But you can see you have more light down here on the bottom versus way up here. So it does help and reduces the glare. But it is not as good as the full FTVZO or again the ACE spherical lens designs. Low beam mode only uses that right side, and then high beam mode turns both on, so you get a combination of the spot and then the flood. The user interface on this is also pretty simple. So 2-button design. You have a bigger one on top. If you hold it, it turns it on. If you hold it again, it turns it off. Pressing this will cycle through low or high, so it just toggles between them. And one thing you'll notice, it always goes into the maximum high mode. So you can see here I'm in the low mode on the high, But if I switch back to low and then go back to high, it goes back to high immediately. And that's a safety feature, so it always gives you full power when you go to the high mode. The bottom button cycles through the different intensities, so you have low, medium, high for the high beam, low, medium, high eco for the low beam, and then you can see a flash mode. There also is a cool feature here, so if you need power right now, you can hold the bottom button down and actually give you the max output, and when you let go, it goes back to your previous mode. So kind of a cool feature. Then you also notice there's a screen on here. It's a little bit flickery on camera, but it actually shows your remaining time in hours for the current mode. So every time you switch a mode, this will update. So pretty cool. It's not as nice as the OLED screens on the Magicshine or even the PR2400, but still a lot better than having just a generic color or low battery status indicator. You also notice there's these two little indicators here, so it tells you if you're in low or high beam mode. So you can see both of them on, which means the high beam's on. If I go back to low, just the left one is illuminated. On the back side, you also have the USB port, so USB Type-C for charging. You can charge this on the go, but it does limit the output to 800 lumen. And then you have a standard USB port on the left side, which is for charging other devices, so you can use this as a power bank. And you have nice clear labels on here as well. There's also a remote here, so you can mount this closer to the center of your bike and then use the remote control, which mimics the same button action. So the top one does the power, cycles through low, high, and then you can do settings between inside the low or high mode, and then hold it to access the full power, and then let go and revert. So pretty simple, standard watch battery on the inside, and then plastic hooks with a little rubber strap to hold it in place. Now let's take a look at the output modes. You can see there's multiple constant modes. You have 250 lumen low mode, which gives you 10-hour runtime. Medium is much brighter at 500 and 4.5 hours. And then high gives you 1000 with 2.5 hours. There's also a flash mode, which you can see is more of a nighttime flash, so it's low to high. And then you have the high beam, which also has a couple of constant settings. So low you can see is 500, medium is 1000. And then to unlock the full 2000, you have to use the high mode in the high beam, and you can see it's much brighter. The nice thing about this dual beam design, you can see when you're riding on the road, you can stick to the lower setting. So it gives you more of a direct beam with less glare than a traditional LED design. And then if you really want light, you can switch up to the high beam, which gives you more spread. There's plenty of settings here, and each of them are pretty easy to differentiate, so it's easy to switch between them. And then you have the wireless remote, which makes it really easy to adjust settings. We do like the dual beam design as well, so it's a nice beam pattern, nice and uniform and wide, while the diffused road one, the low beam, gives you more of a distant spot beam, so you can see further down the road without blinding people as much as a traditional light. Also, the display is pretty nice. It'd be nice if it actually showed the battery status. Instead, it shows the time remaining an hour, so it's a little bit vague there. You're not sure if you have 50% or 100% battery, but it is nice to have something, so if the value is too low for your ride, you can actually switch to a lower setting, or remember to charge it up. Otherwise, pretty nice light, and it's all-in-one design, means you can just mount it on your handlebar and forget about it. Now let's compare the PR2000 with other lights on the market. One of the more direct comparisons is the Ulti 1500S from Magicshine. It also has a wireless remote, dual LED design, except one of these is a DRL. And then the nice thing about the Magicshine is they actually have an OLED screen. So you can see side by side, again, this is a little bit flickery just because of the camera, but it has a much higher contrast black and white instead of this red. And also shows you the battery status and a little mode indicator with the lumens rather than just a number of hours remaining. So a little bit better design. Otherwise very simple. They both have simple user interfaces, and then you can cycle through the modes. The nice thing about the Magicshine is they have the flash mode separated from the normal intensity. So with this one, you actually have to go through the flash mode when you're in the low beam, which is a little bit inconvenient. Magicshine also uses the Garmin mounts, which is a lot more generic. So you can see the round puck versus this long proprietary style, which again is just nice to have because you can use it a lot of third-party mounts. This lens design though is very similar to other Magicshine lights as well. We have the RN 1500, so you can see the top diffusers here that help push the light downward. Ravemen has taken that next level with vertical diffusers as well to spread it out, but otherwise similar, so limited anti-glare, and it does make it a lot easier to use on bike trails where you're not blinding everybody. For better anti-glare design, the best thing is asymmetric lenses, so you can see nice sharp beam cutoff. And when you look at this from lower angles, there's actually no flash, so it doesn't actually blind you at all. This one's a lot lower power, so you can see that just right off the bat. It's only 200 versus the 2000 on the PR. Magicshine has other offerings like the Evo 1700, which is kind of a cool design. So you can see very different form factor. It's taller rather than being longer and more narrow. But again, this has the asymmetric design, so you can see the LED on the inside. And then similar high beam, low beam design. So pretty cool to see more lights like this, and it makes it a lot safer to ride on the road. Trek also has their Commuter Pro. This uses a reflector style, so rather than just having diffusers, the LED is mounted on the top, and then it bounces down on the deflector. So you can see, you get a pretty sharp beam cutoff, a little more artifacts, but it's better than just having diffusers. And with this one, you can actually connect a taillight to it as well. So pretty cool. And you have these side markers, which you're lacking here. So this beam is inset, so you don't have any side indicator. Well, this has a little orange cutout. Outbound lighting has their detour, so you can see pretty cool. Again, uses the top mounted LEDs, and that creates a nice sharp beam cutoff with a little bit more artifacts. But it really helps focus the light, and you get a dual beam design that's a lot wider. So a bit of a different form factor. It's almost the same size if you rotate it, but instead it's wider and then shorter. Knog also has their Blinder 900. So you can see 900 lumens, but almost the same size as this. So that's what's really cool about the Ravemen's 2000 lumens, but pretty compact. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the PR2000. What I like about it is you have a dual beam setup, so you have a nice wider beam, and then a more focused one for road cycling. You also have a nice aluminum construction with compact size, which is pretty impressive given the output of the light. You also have a nice display screen which shows the remaining time, which is a lot nicer and easier to use than traditional displays with just a color indicator. The main cons is the fact you don't really have a battery gauge, there's no percentage, instead you just have time remaining. So it's a little bit vague, you have to remember what the maximum time was and then you can do the math backwards. Also use a proprietary mount instead of a more traditional quarter turn Garmin style, which would have been nice here. Also, the buttons do lack tactile feel, so if you're wearing gloves, it can be hard to operate them. Taking everything into account, would give the PR2000 9.0 out of 10. It's a nice dual beam design with a bright output. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.